Well, hello and welcome again to our reading the Greek New Testament, and we're reading Luke's Gospel, chapter 1, and we were up to verse 21. It's quite a long chapter, chapter 1 of Luke, and we left Zechariah in a temple conducting his religious ceremonies, and an angel has appeared to him and he's become blind. So in verse 21, Kai en ho laos prostokon ton Zacharian, kaem ethaumaston en to chronisdein en to nao auton. And the people were, and we get this periphrastic use of the verb here. This is a participle from prostokio, to expect, or to wait for someone, to expect, to wait expectantly. And it's being used here with the verb to be in the same way we do in English, but it's not the usual way one does things in Greek. So the people were waiting for Zechariah. Kai ethaumaston, from thaumasdo, they were surprised. They were amazed or surprised. Now, we've got in plus the articular infinitive here. Chronisdo is to delay, to be late for something, to delay. And this is idiomatic here. It's it's in his delaying, or in the fact that he was delayed in the temple. So they were amazed at him because he was delayed in the temple. I think you could translate it here. Slightly odd use of the articular infinitive with n here. So they were surprised that he was delayed in the temple. Exelthon de uk edunato leleisai tois. And having come out, he was not able, leleisai, to speak to them. Kai epignosan hoti optasian hioreken enternao. And they recognized, they understood from epignosko, a stronger form of ginosko, they realized or recognized that hioraken, perfect from horao, and we get this word optasian, which is formed from the root opt, which is formed from the past tense, from the aorist passive, in fact, from horao. We get ophthalmos and so on from that same root. So it means a vision. So they recognized that he'd seen a vision in the temple. Kai autos ein dianuein autois, and he himself was, well, this means nodding, making signs to them. So the nuo is to bend, or hence to nod, to bend the head. So he was making signs to them, or nodding to them. And diemenon kophos, and he remained continually, get that dia in it from diameno, kophos, but he remained continually dumb, that is, speechless. Kai ageneto hos epleistes en hymerai tes liturgias autou, epeelthen eston oikon autou. And it came to pass, we get this typical use of ageneto, that when the days of his liturgy, the days of his service, this is a word meaning to do religious service. Alite is a prayer, this is a longer form here, and the erg root is from doing, so it means religious service. So it came to pass that the days of his religious service were fulfilled, were filled up, that is, were finished. Hebrew often talks about days being filled, time being filled or fulfilled. Apaelthen, he returned back into his house. Meditautes tas hemras soneleben Elizabeth hegune autou, kai peri ekruben hiauten menas penti, and then it's legusi on the next page. So after these days, Elizabeth, his wife, this is the aorist from sul lambano, verb which has a range of meanings, can mean to arrest somebody, but it's used in the context of women to be becoming pregnant. So his wife Elizabeth became pregnant. Peri-ekruben. This is a rather slightly strange form here. It's a late form of the aorist from crypto. She hid herself. It's an odd form. You would normally get krupsen, but here we're getting this krub form. It's a late form of the verb crypto. So she hid herself for 5 months, as women often did in those days when they were pregnant. Legusa, saying, and then we get hoti recitative, so this is like inverted commas. Hoti hutos moi pepoieken kurios in hemerais hais epeden aphelain onedos mu in anthropois. Because thus, now we get kurios again without the article. This is generally used in the Septuagint for Yahweh. Yahweh has literally has done for me in the days in which, well, it's got to go with the hutos as well. So thus has Yahweh done to me. So Yahweh has done this to me in the days in which he looked upon, understand me. Af Helene is from af hyreo. That we get the verb hyreo, and the aorist stem of this is hell, and that's what we're getting in here. And the H in the hell root is turning the apple into a phi into a phi. So he has looked upon me. So in the days in which he looked upon me, af Helene, to take away my reproach on Erdos, almost embarrassment, among men. Reproach because she hasn't had any children, which was seen as a reproachful thing, apparently. Endetomani to hecto, apostale ho angelos Gabriel apotoutheu es polentes Galileas e onoma Nazaret, prosparthenon emnestumenein andri hoi onoma Yosef ex oiku David, kaita onoma tes parthenu Miriam. And in the 6th month, this is from hex, is 6, it's in hexagon, this is the adjective hektos. So in the sixth month, the angel Gabriel, apostalein, this is the aorist passive from apostello, was dispatched from God, was sent from God to the city of Galilee, for whom the name was Nazareth. And he was sent to the Parthenon, a maiden, virgin, it's often translated as to the Parthenos is an unmarried woman. Emnestumene, this is from menestuo, to betroth, and this is the perfect passive feminine participle here, having been betrothed, so a maiden who had been betrothed to a man for whom the name was Joseph, so whose name was Joseph, from the house of David. And the name of the maiden was Miriam, or Mary. Caius elthon prosauten apen kaire kekairetomene, kokurios metasu. And having gone in her direction, Eselthone pros auten often means other things in the Septuagint, but here it's just he turned up at her place, he went in to where she was, and he said, Kaire, hail, kekairetomene. This is from the verb karitoo, to bestow a favour upon. It's only used here in the New Testament, and once again it appears in the Ephesians 1:6. It's quite a rare word, but the root there, charis, is a favour, and charitoo, to bestow a favour. So hail, O favoured one. It's a passive, perfect passive here. The Lord is with you. Now you'll see that there's variant readings here. Some later manuscripts add eulogomene su engunaixi, blessed are you among women, and others add kai eulogemenos okapos tes koilia su, and blessed is the fruit of your womb, which is the one of the prayers in the Rosary. That's not, though, in the original text as we have it. It looks like it's in a later edition. Here it's just hail, O favoured one. Hoc kurios, got the article this time, the Lord is with you. I've got to supply esti. And she, epitologo, diaterakthe, kai dialogizdato, potopos ee ho aspasmos, hutos. And she, now this is from dia tarasso. We've often seen this tarasso to be disturbed with the same word we had earlier, with similar root referring to Zechariah. So she was troubled or disturbed. This is the aorist passive here. And she dialogizatod. Logizomai is to reckon, to think about. Dialogiz to toss around in the mind, to debate, to think about. The dia simply emphasizes it, strengthens the word. So she puzzled over, perhaps might be a good translation of that, as to potopos, what sort of aspasmos, greeting, this ia might be. Now there's an optative from the verb to be. You don't see too many optatives, especially not in this past sequence here, after a verb of thinking. So she was thinking what sort of greeting this might be. It's very good classical Greek. It's not what you normally get in Koine Greek, but Luke uses the optative quite correctly here. Kai epen ho angelos aute, and the angel said to her, Me phobu, do not fear, Mary. Hures gar charin paratos theo. Now the charin is picking up this ket charitomene here. Do not fear, Mary, for you have found, this is the aorist from Heurisco, you have found favour beside God. You've found favour with God. Kai idu sul lempse engastri kai texe huion kai kaleses ton onoma auto yesun. And behold, now the future of lambano is lapsomai without the mu, which is a nasal infix in the present, but in Biblical Greek, in New Testament Greek, in Hellenistic Greek, you'll often get the mu survives in here. So this is that sul lambano verb again. You will become pregnant, and this is just the future of lambano, but with the nasal mu included. You'll become pregnant in your womb. Gastri is often another word for womb, literally in your stomach. We've seen that koilia was used back in verse 15. Now we're getting gastri, all means the same thing, in your womb. Kai texe huion, and you will bear a son. The texe comes from the verb tikto. The verb is tikto, and the future is texamai. This is a second person singular. Aorist etekon. So you will bear a son, and kaleses, you will call his name Yesun, which is a word Jeshua, meaning saviour. Hutos esti megas kai huios hupsistu, clay thesatai kai dose auto, kurios hotheos to thronon David, tu patros autu. And he will become megas, he will become great. And klethesetai, future passive from kaleo, he will be called the son hupsistu of the Most High, one of the names of God in the Old Testament. Kaidose auto kurios hotheos, and God the Lord will give to him the throne of David his father. Kai basileusai epi ton oikon Jacob estus ionas, kai tes basileas autu uk estai telos, and he will rule over the house of Jacob. Estus ionas, that's that idiom for meaning forever, and of his kingdom there will not be, estai future from Amy, telos an end. Interestingly, here he's said to become king of the house of Jacob, that is of the house of Israel, that is the Jewish people. Apen de Mariam pros ton angelon, and Mary said to the angel, Pos estai tuto, how will this be? Epe andra u ginosko, literally, since I do not know a man. In other words, since I have not had physical relations with a man. Kai apokrithes ho angelos apen aute, and the angel having answered said to her. We get this usual having answered he said idiom, which we see elsewhere in other Gospels. It's very much a Septuagint expression, having answered she said, or he said here. Pneuma hagion epeleusatai epise, kai dunamis hupsistu episkiasai soi. And Holy Spirit, no article, as often in the New Testament. Epeleusatai, this is from ep and erchomai, this is the future from erchomai, will come upon you, epise, and the power of the Most High. Episkiasdo means to overshadow. Skia is the word for shadow, episkiasdo, to overshadow. It is a classical word. It's in Herodotus and Sophocles, and also in the Septuagint, but it's fairly rare in the New Testament. So will overshadow you. Wherefore, dia is for dia plus ho. For which reason also, klethesetai, he will be called, the to genomenon is the subject. It's the thing having been begotten, from genao. This is the passive participle here with to. So the thing having been begotten, i.e. the child having been begotten, klethesetai, will be called hagion, holy, and then we get in apposition to all of that, huios theou, a son of God. Kai idu Elizabeth he sung genis su, kai aute sun elephen, huion en gere autes, kai hutos main, ectos esti aute te kelumene stera. Because Elizabeth, your sung genis. Now this is an extremely rare word. It's a very late word. You certainly get sung genes in classical Greek and elsewhere, but this is a feminine form of this. Most writers would simply use the masculine form, but Luke always likes to use proper terminology, and secondly, he uses the correct female terminology rather than just dumping down a male name, male word. So it's your kinswoman, sungenis. It's a very rare word, and it's late. So Elizabeth, your kinswoman, also herself, sun elephen. This is the from sul lambano again. This is the perfect passive form of this, has become pregnant with a son. in gere, this is a third declension noun, and this is the dative, so in her old age. And he indeed, hektos estin, literally he is well, we have to supply month here, it's the 6th month. So, sorry, this indeed is the 6th month for her who was called barren. In other words, she's been pregnant now for 6 months. She's in the 6th month of pregnancy. But the Greek just says, this is hektos, the 6th, got to supply month, for her who was being called barren. Hoti uk e dunatese paratu theou pan orema. Now we get what's called litotes here, which is a sort of double negative. Greek often doesn't say things directly, it says the opposite of the opposite. So we've got uk and adunatese. Adunio is used here in the sense of, or adunatio I should say, is used in the sense of it is possible. And we've got not. And so with the alpha, it is not possible. It is not possible. In other words, pan rema, every word from God is possible. Literally is not impossible. So we get a sort of little nomic expression here with a double negative, which is generally referred to as litotes. Rema can mean both a thing or a word. Given that it's being used in the next line here, clearly meaning word, then we take it as word, but it could also mean thing. In other words, this verse 37 could say nothing is impossible with nothing is impossible with God. It's basically could be taken in that sense, but it's literally because every word is not impossible from God, or every word from God is not impossible. Anyway, Apen de Mariam, Mary said, Idu hedule kuriu, behold the servant, female servant kuriu of Yahweh, no article. Genoi top moi kata toremasu, may it be to me according to your, and it must be word here. The word rema is formed from the aorist passive from lego, it's erethane. So the wraith in erethane, they use that root there to form this rema. It's the Hebrew davar is always translated by rema in the Septuagint, and sometimes davar can mean both a word and a thing, and hence rema sometimes means a thing, sometimes a word. Kaiapelthen epautes ho angelos, and the angel departed from her. And that will be enough for this little section.